YouTube was once available on the N64. While many of you may know about some interesting ways to watch movies and videos on your consoles, such as the Netflix disc or GBA video cartridges, you might not know about the YouTube cartridge for the N64. It was a very limited release and only available to those closely involved with the making of the website in the early stages. Now you may be thinking, didn't YouTube come out way later than the N64? And you'd be right, YouTube didn't go public until 2005, and the last officially licensed N64 game, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, was released in August 2002, but that was the last licensed game. Even today, unlicensed and fan-made N64 games are being made, and around 2004, before YouTube was public, a YouTube N64 cartridge was created. Although it could never access the internet, it was mainly used to see how certain features would behave when used with older technology and test bugs within the UI that may have otherwise went under the radar on a personal computer. These cartridges are extremely rare, and it's hard to find one that isn't a counterfeit. So, now you know. You can use the internet on a Game Boy Advance. In 2004, a third-party company named Govio created an internet browser cartridge for the GBA. All you would have to do is make sure you had a wireless adapter plugged into your Game Boy. From there, the adapter would search nearby networks, though you had to be in really close range to receive a signal. Once online, the internet was yours to browse. These cartridges were very limited, and after Govio went out of business, they stopped being made entirely. They're extremely rare to find today, and shockingly, it still works. But also, I'm lying. That whole story was false, but at least now you won't be fooled if someone tells you. Twitter was once released on the PlayStation 3. Now I know what you're thinking. Twitter on PS3? There's no way. But hear me out. We all remember the PS3 Netflix disc. And not long after that was released, Sony had the brilliant idea of bringing Twitter, the hottest social media app at the time, right to people's home consoles. This made it easy for gamers to access their Twitter feeds without having to leave their PS3. It was especially convenient to share achievements and screenshots from the PS3 to Twitter in seconds. Despite all of this, it was actually considered a massive flop. For one, navigating Twitter on the PS3 was difficult and felt like a chore, and it also lacked many essential features like direct messaging. But also, I'm lying. Twitter on PS3? What a stupid idea. But if it were real, I'd probably say something like, TikTok was just released on the Nintendo Switch. I just went to my local GameStop and found this special TikTok cartridge. It cost $10, but don't worry, DK Oldies is charging $300. Now I can watch all my favorite TikToks and even upload videos from my Switch. It works just like a phone. It's vertical and uses swipe controls. This is a limited release from TikTok to celebrate 1 billion worldwide users, so get yours while you can. But also, I'm lying. You can technically still get TikTok on your Switch through the Switch's internet browser, but that's a story for another day. This cartridge, however, is not real, so now you know what I'm about to say is totally false. You can order McDonald's using a GameCube. Remember these? Good times. But have you ever seen this? It's the super rare McDonald's GameCube game. Now, the GameCube kiosks used to be in many McDonald's restaurants in North America and Japan, but they were originally meant to do what these kiosks do. The GameCubes inside McDonald's restaurants were actually supposed to contain this game, which would allow kids, or parents of kids, to order their food through them. Once ordered, a ticket would have come out of it. It would have cut the lines, sped up the ordering, but eventually McDonald's decided to use them for games instead, and the McDonald's GameCube game was never given out to the restaurants. You can still find copies of this, but they're rare and expensive. But also, I'm lying. None of this is true. You know what else isn't true? This. Vine was once released on the 3DS. In 2013, Vine was everywhere, and it was one of the hottest video sharing apps at the time. Even Xbox had an app for it. But you probably didn't know that Dan Hoffman, the creator of Vine, had it released as a 3DS cartridge. It just made sense. Teenagers were their target audience, and teenagers were playing the 3DS. And with the 3DS having a camera, who wouldn't see it as a great marketing strategy? The only problem was its limited functionality. Sure, you could watch and upload videos, but you couldn't comment, share, and it was pretty slow and glitchy. After some bad initial reviews and Vine beginning to shut down for good, it was eventually pulled from stores. But also, I'm lying. First Snapchat on the 3DS and now Vine. What's next? Reddit? Gross. But did you know that this is the PlayStation 2 disc for the PS1. It's able to emulate a PS2 demo on the PS1 console. The disc was used as a marketing strategy for current PS1 owners. It would allow them to test out PS2 games without actually buying a PS2. It contained a demo version of a few of the PS2 launch games, including Madden 2001, Tekken Tag Tournament, and Eternal Ring. The disc was actually not sold in stores, but rather mailed out to PS1 owners. The PlayStation 2 ended up being the most sold console ever, so this proved to be a successful tactic in getting users to upgrade from 1 to 2. But also, I'm lying. I'm gonna go now while you think about how you just believed me. Hey, while you're just believing stuff, believe this. Instagram was once released on the Wii. I'm sure you've seen the Netflix disc for the Wii, but in 2012, Instagram was becoming one of the biggest social media companies, and Nintendo figured they ought to capitalize on it by putting the app on a disc exclusive to the Wii. While you couldn't post anything on the disc version, you were still able to like and comment on posts. The biggest problem was how slow it was. Everything you did, even just changing tabs, took you to, at minimum, a 10-second loading screen. The disc sold poorly, it just couldn't compete with the app. But also, I'm lying. We've done Twitter, Snapchat, Vine, there's an entire compilation on my channel of all the lies about social media games I've told. And I will now end the series with Instagram. But also, I'm lying again! Reddit on Game Boy coming soon, stay tuned. Also, Reddit was once released on the Game Boy Advance. Game consoles are no stranger to having social media apps or cartridges, but in this case, this wasn't actually a port of the social media, but rather an entirely original video game. You play as Snoo, the Reddit mascot. It's a typical platformer game, but the whole idea is that you're traversing through the internet. The crazy part is, this was released in 2003, and it's actually what gave the founders of Reddit, Steve, Aaron, and Alexis, the idea for it. They bought the rights to the name and mascot, and turned it into a social media. The original game is hardly ever given credit today, but also, I'm lying, and you can get lied to again in my upcoming video Balloon, which will hopefully release soon. It's my biggest lie yet. It's my scariest lie yet, and I've worked very hard on it. But also, Windows was once released on the GameCube. Appearing in 2005, this cardboard cutout version of the Windows OS allowed players to use their GameCubes like a home computer. It couldn't access the internet, but it still had many of the operating system's applications, such as the Notepad, Microsoft Paint, and who could forget Space Pinball. It was a neat idea for kids to feel like they owned their own computer if you didn't want them accessing the internet through a PC. Problem was, as time went on, Windows evolved, but the game didn't, and without much to do, kids lost interest quick. The game was only released in a few stores across America, and it's hard to find them on the internet now. But also, I'm lying. And with that, my lies for the year have concluded. I hope you've enjoyed, and you can check out the entire year's worth compilation on my YouTube channel. I'm leaving YouTube, and my final video will be posted on January 5th. Enjoy my videos when I'm gone, and thank you all so much for watching. Have you ever seen the Spotify cartridge for the 3DS? Well, if not, that's probably because it was only available in one country in the world, and no, it's not America. You see, back when Spotify was just starting to boom in 2015, founder and CEO Daniel Ek partnered with Nintendo to create a Spotify 3DS port. You gotta understand, this was a time before most children had cell phones, or really any way to listen to music, and they wanted to target a younger audience, so what better way than to put it on a console that kids already had. It worked just like it did on the phone, and you were actually able to listen to music while playing other games. It was only released in Sweden, the place Spotify was founded. Did it flop? Well, the short answer is yes. It never made it to any other countries, and even if you found a cartridge, it wouldn't work today anyway. But also, I'm lying! Spotify was never on the 3DS. Joke's on you! And here's another joke for you. Have you ever seen the Uber cartridge for the Nintendo Switch? I'm guessing not, since it was only ever available at select locations at The Source, a Canadian electronics company and subsidiary of Best Buy. You see, to compensate for the fact that Netflix wasn't on the Switch, Nintendo figured they could put other apps on the console that didn't exist on other game platforms. TikTok is an example of this, but Uber also wanted to expand, and being that the Switch was a handheld with Wi-Fi and GPS capabilities, they figured it would be perfect. They started in Canada as a sort of test run. The problem is, not only did the cartridge barely sell, but a lot of kids were misusing it and accidentally buying rides when they didn't mean to. Eventually, the cartridge was taken out of stores, and the Source ended up closing down anyway, so it's now left as an odd relic of Nintendo's history. But also, I'm lying! You believed me, you got fooled, you were about to purchase it on eBay, but no, it doesn't exist, so you'd probably say no if I were to ask you. You can cast your phone to a Game Boy Advance. All you need is a Chromecast or Roku or Fire Stick or whatever, and then you need an HDMI input to GLC Type 2 adapter, which you can probably find online. You also need a power source, so your Game Boy needs to be plugged in. Simply attach the casting device to your GBA using the adapter, and you'll notice when you turn on the console, nothing will happen. For some reason, you can't actually use the device properly on a GBA, or essentially have the GBA as the monitor, but you can press cast on your phone or computer and watch YouTube, Netflix, and whatever else from there. If you want to be able to use these applications without having to buy an adapter and all that stuff, you could simply buy the corresponding cartridge for the GBA, which typically go for around $1,500 online. But also, I'm lying! There's no way this would actually work, and yet you somehow fell for it. Yes sir! Send this video to your friends to fool them into thinking that you can watch YouTube on the PS2. You might remember the Netflix Wii Disc or the GBA movie cartridges, but did you know in 2011 Sony came out with a YouTube collection disc? It didn't actually allow you to stream videos as it was just a DVD, but it had a large collection of YouTube videos on it from popular YouTubers at the time, including Smosh, Annoying Orange, Shane Dawson, Jenna Marbles, and more. It also included the full-length Fred the movie. Nowadays it's pretty redundant to own it, but back in 2011, YouTube support on consoles was limited, so this was a decent option. Now, this was only ever available in California and didn't sell well at all, as many people had moved on from the PS2 at this point. Regardless, if you want to pick up your copy, you can search for it online and see that I'm lying. Oh, I got you so good. Don't even deny it. And now that you're in on it, send this video to your friends to fool them into thinking